The USS Bonhomme Richard, it has been announced that the USS Bonhomme Richard is going to be decommissioned. They are not going to repair the ship. So what does that mean? Basically, they have decided that the repairs on board are going to be too expensive / not confident they can get it back up to the standard that it would need to be a performing warship for the United States Navy going on deployment cycle after deployment cycle. So that's going to be the end of the Bonhomme Richard, which was, if I have my facts correct here, was commissioned in 1998. Let me double check that. It was commissioned in 1998, and it was that was August 15th, and it was in service until 16 July 2020, the date of that fire, where it was ported in San Diego, California. I have many friends who have deployed on board the Bonhomme Richard, and I am sorry to see it go out like that. I guess it is just the way of the world when you have to think about costs associated with rebuilding the ship and everything like that. Let me pull up my browser window here. So they have the ship, and maybe I'll try playing that video. But the U.S. Navy will not repair the amphibious assault ship Bonhomme Richard, which burned for more than 4 days this summer in San Diego. That was announced by Rear Admiral Eric Verhaeghe, commander of Navy Regional Maintenance Center. They said that they did not come to this decision lightly, as I'm sure it was with a heavy heart and mind that they had to make this decision. But they say in the end, resurrecting the devastated large deck amphib would have been too costly. The extensive damage to the flat tops, flight deck, island, mast, and lower levels from the July 12th inferno would have required 60% of the ship to be replaced. The rebuild and repair of the 22-year-old amphib would have cost between $2.5 and $3.2 billion and would have taken 5 to 7 years. And then to turn the ship into a hospital ship would have cost more than $1 billion and taken the same amount of time. So one of the ideas was, could they just turn the Bonhomme Richard into a hospital ship and use it for a different purpose? By contrast, decomming the ship will cost $30 million and be implemented over the next 9 to 12 months. So the question is then, who's going to pick up the slack for the Bonhomme Richard? So having a ship not in service, I wonder who's going to have to go do the work. So unfortunately, the loss of one of the Navy's mightiest symbols of sea power came after the Bonhomme Richard had already been in the shipyard for 18 months. Like we reported, they had just undergone this major maintenance cycle on board the Bonhomme Richard when a fire happened. And I did suspect, now that they have reported back then and still that they're investigating it as possibly arson, I did say it could have been a disgruntled shipyard worker. And the ship had just taken on $250 million worth of upgrades to accommodate the F-35Bs, and now they have to decom it. So there is 4 separate investigations going on, including a criminal probe into whether the inferno was caused by arson. And Verhaeghe declined to comment on the status of those investigations, which is pretty standard for criminal investigations. They're not going to go ahead and give out all their good information about the investigation before they have anything, that they're bringing to court. So they'll probably take all the usable parts off the ship, recycle as much of it as they can, but most of it's just going to be probably sunk. So it's doubtly, first story of the day. Got to get my tongue twisters out. It's doubly unfortunate because the ship had just completed an extensive modernization. Bradley Martin, a retired surface warfare officer and senior policy researcher at the RAND Corp, said in an email. The Navy will likely manage the operational impact by tasking other ships, and this is exactly the dynamic that leads to long-term readiness problems. I agree. He says it's a very bad outcome. So that means basically fewer ships are going to complete the same amount of work or potentially more work, because you never know what the operational tempo is going to be from one day to the next. There could be a surge like there was recently, and we got that story today too. So there's going to be an increased workload to the sailors that are supporting that AOR as they deploy their ships more frequently. One thing they could do is do a crew swap. So one crew comes back, gets replaced by another crew. That crew takes the next deployment, but we'll see, because now they're going to have all these sailors. That's another thing too, is they're going to have all these sailors who are on board the Bonhomme Richard who now need to go somewhere back to the fleet. So if you lose a ship, that's a couple thousand people now and not only the people on the ship, but there's also going to be an empty spot on the dock. So there's all these ripple effects. There's going to be all these outward ripple effects of people who are going to need to find out where to go. When a ship gets decom like that, you're going to have a bunch of sailors sitting around just, coking and joking, having a good time while they wait for orders, and those orders might suck. So I feel bad for those guys. If you are on board the Bonhomme Richard and you watch the ScuttleButt Show, I would love to talk to you. I don't care if you're an E1 or an 05. I would love to talk to you and find out what's going on out there in the Bonhomme Richard. Or if you know somebody who's on the Bonhomme Richard, give them my information, the ScuttleButtShow@gmail.com. I'd love to hear what's going on. So it says the flight deck and hangar deck were heat damaged and probably damaged beyond proper repair. So that's another thing, is if they could fix it, would it be fixed up to the seaworthiness that a ship needs to be? Would it pass inspection? The magazines and areas for stowage of munitions and fuel may not have been properly repairable. So you don't want to have another fire like this. The most flammable stuff on the ship needs to be stored in proper areas. Also, the damage caused by the firefighting may have had long-term adverse impact, including to the hull, which, the frame of the ship, which you might not even know until it's too late. Now, NCIS declined to comment on this. We got a picture of the ship firefighting efforts right here. I mean, I just can't imagine being on board the Bonhomme Richard and just watching your ship burn. Watching your home burn, where you live, where you've lived all your life and had all these experiences, watching it go up in flames. That's a bummer. And it goes on to, continue to talk about the impact on mission readiness and all that. Now, my main thoughts on this are, what's going to happen to the crew of the Bonhomme Richard? What's going to happen to them? Maybe they could do a crew swap with one of the other ships in that class when the new ship goes out on deployment, comes back, and they do a crew swap with the Bonhomme Richard. They take that ship out. But I'm curious to see how the Navy's going to handle that. I'll be sure to report on that. And then the other thing is, what happened? We got to find out what happened. What actually happened on board the Bonhomme Richard? We're going to need answers, okay? We are going to need answers. The ScuttleButt Show needs answers as to what happened on board the Bonhomme Richard. And as soon as we get them, I will report them to you. Now, here's what I want to show you guys, okay? Let me brush the dirt off my shoulders a little bit. Here's me in August of this year reporting on the USS Bonhomme Richard. Okay, so here's some pics from inside the ship, and from the looks of it, I don't know if they'll just repair it or decom the ship and replace it, which would be a $4 billion price tag. But if repairs are going to take years and may not be able to make it strong enough again in a timeline that the Navy's happy with, they might just write it off. I don't know. What do you guys think? All right, so as you can see, I had made a guess that they were probably going to decom this ship. I had a feeling that was going to happen. Now, the last question would be, how are they going to decom it? Are they going to sink it? So one thing that's common when they decom ships is to take the kind of empty shell of the ship and give it a burial at sea, where they take it out to sea and they fire some weapons at it and sink the ship. And that's not just cool to do, and it's not just a good way to send the ship off with honors, but it's also a good test of our weapon system. So what would it take to sink that ship? The best way to find that out is to sink one of our own. We've got the most powerful warfighting seagoing Navy in the world. What would it take to sink one of our ships? Let's find out. So, and then make sure we have the power to sink our own ships, because we want to make sure our weapons work the way that we think they do. And it's the best test is a real world test. So I look forward to seeing when they what they do with the Bonhomme Richard. I will bring that to you guys 100%. I guarantee it. When I hear something, I'll bring that to you guys. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button up in the corner here and check out this next video. If you want, in the description down below, there's links where you can get ScuttleButt Show merch and find out how you can support the channel. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you guys very soon.